and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. We are deep in the Belgian Ardennes, just about to get the official qualifying session for the opening round of the 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship underway. Finally, after the latest series of lockdowns for this COVID-19 pandemic, we are back at a racing circuit almost exactly 6 months since World Endurance Championship cars were last on track in the season finale in Bahrain. So 2 qualifying groups as ever, GTs followed by prototypes, the GTs in the GTE Pro and GTE AM classes, and in the prototypes, LMP2 and Hypercar. It is day 1 at school for the hypercar class. Martin Haven, Graham Goodwin and Alan McNish ready to talk you through the action. And Alan, from the driver's point of view, qualifying at Spa, we're now no longer going to have the total of 2 drivers setting a time. It is man or woman against the circuit, and 1 lap is what you're looking for. How hard is it to get the best out of a car off the bat on this circuit?
Yeah, a change to the regulations for this year. It used to be that it was the average of the 2 drivers in the car in qualifying that gave the grid position. However, it is just that 1 lap shootout fastest goes within the 10-minute qualifying period. And so you can do it at the beginning, you can do it at the middle, you can do it at the end, but it's that 1 lap that counts. What still counts is making sure, A, you don't have your time disallowed from track limits, and that's something we've seen many times here. And B, you get a clean lap, because the tyres really are optimum for that 1 lap round here. And that means a lot of preparation on the outlap. Very different for the Toyota with their hybrid in comparison to the Alpine in the hypercar class, and for the different cars in the GTE and GTE AM field, just because whether it is rear-engined like the Ferrari we're looking at now or the front-engined Aston Martin. However, whichever way it is, you've got to make sure when you start that lap, you get it right.
And Graham Goodwin, looking at the GT category as well, as Alan was saying, mid-engine Ferrari, you've got mid-engine now in the Porsche rather than rear hanging out the back engine. And we've got Corvette racing here. However, there is still now only 1 front-engine GT car, because the Corvette is now a mid-engine car. Aston Martin is the last Grand Tourer in the old style with a big multi-cylinder engine ahead of the driver, the horses pulling the cart.
Yeah, and very happily we've got 3 of them in the GTE AM class, and I think at least 2 of them are going to be in the mix in this qualifying session. Remember, in the GTE AM class only, it will be the bronze driver, or one of the bronze drivers, that will have to do the qualifying session. In the other classes, there is freedom to use whichever driver they think can unlock all the ponies.
And for those who are new, or newish at least, to World Endurance Series racing, GT cars like this, you know, you're talking Porsche 911, Aston Martin Vantage, Corvette, and Ferrari 488 Italia. You know, these are road-going supercars and modified extensively for racing, but the shape of the road car is very evident. Grand Tourers, you know, that's what they're all about. 2 classes, GTE Pro, that is for factory-entered teams. So we've got a team from Porsche, a team from Ferrari, run by AF Corsa on their behalf, and factory-salaried professional drivers. So they'll be gold or platinum standard drivers. The AM class cars, which have got the orange door panel there, as you can see in the Cetilar Racing Ferrari, we'll talk about them in a little while. That's a Pro-Am class. Yep. Essentially, it should be called Pro-Am. It is a Pro-Am class. So you get a car that has got a businessman, maybe a young racing driver, and maybe an ex-Grand Prix ace in it. But it is that mixture. But it is the businessman who's going to have to, like Paul Dallalana here, the Canadian, who's going to have to go out and do the lap. Because, essentially, they're what the team is built around. These are the guys that, to a large extent, are bringing the sponsorship, bringing the deal together. And so, yeah, get them out in qualifying. Absolutely. That's a great thought.
And that, of course, came as part of that mix when we had the aggregate scoring for qualifying. Now it shifts completely to the gentleman drivers. Or for that matter, to the lady driver as well. We've got to put that in as well.
Exactly.
Now it's great to see the all-female crew in GTE AM. And you know something? They love it. This is what they're here for. They're passionate about it. Yes, of course, they know they've got quicker drivers alongside them for the race, but they want to measure themselves against their peers as well. And they will be measuring their progress through this season with this new qualifying format around this fabulous 7-kilometre circuit.
Well, now he talks about the circuit. Alan McNish, 7 kilometres. Spa-Francorchamps has that reputation where there's no margin for error. It's not quite Monaco, but when things go wrong, they go wrong at a big speed.
A much bigger speed than Monaco.
And you don't get away with it. But the penalty is the same for making mistakes, almost.
Yeah, 3 key points. There's from La Source, the first corner, up through Eau Rouge, Rédillon up to Les Combes. That's the first sector. Then you've got the middle sector, Malmedy, the Brussels hairpin, Pouhon, and round to Stavelot sector 2. And then the final sector, the big long flat blast through Blanchemont and the bus stop chicane. But there's 2 sectors that are all about straight line speed, and that middle sector is all about downforce and car balance. And it is a real tricky balance to make sure you get your car tuned. For qualifying's one thing, but also for the race. And so you will see that definitely there will be cars that will be more attuned to this cold one-lap condition, and then it might change again for tomorrow. But as you said, it bites. And if you get it wrong, and we've seen some people get it wrong through this week so far in the prologue and also here, that it just wasn't quite right. They ended up in the wall, and you know, so it's certainly one you've got to pay your respects to the Circuit of Spa.
Down in the pit lane is Duncan Vincent. Dunk, the cars waiting for their tyres with the drivers on board. This is the first session under the stopwatch properly of the season. You sense that there's a little bit of nervous anticipation with those sitting behind the steering wheel?
I do, Martin, I do. And just to be clear, the temperature has come down quite a bit here. It's getting colder. There's darker clouds rolling in. Never has a 10-minute qualifying session around Spa-Francorchamps been so important as to what we're about to see in this new feature, especially in the GTE AM, where it has to be a bronze driver who qualifies the car. But yeah, I done a great little piece, I have to say that, down at Eau Rouge today. I'm sorry, I gave myself a big head there. But the commitment these guys have in the GT cars through Eau Rouge, it's something very special. Alan, you saw the piece. It's the guys are very brave.
Yeah, it is, and you know, this is a car that is effectively, it is a racing car. However, it was born out of being a road car, and so therefore they're hanging on, they're working it. And as you said, in these cold conditions, you know, it does mean that you've got to have that little bit of extra focus. You've got to get the turning absolutely correct. The car's grounding out, and then it's going very light as you come over the top of the hill. And so precision at the bottom of the hill gives you your exit speed, good or bad, at the top.
I'll just point out that is the first 2 minutes and 17 seconds of Duncan being on air, and he already complained about how cold it was. So, but no, actually, no,
that's because it is.
In all seriousness, I was talking to Ollie Gavin earlier on, who's here with the Corvette, his final ever race weekend. Ollie Gav, he won't be racing at Le Mans this year. He was hoping to go last year, and of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Corvette racing didn't go, so he didn't get his 20th Le Mans start. Tyres coming out for Satoshi Hoshino, the D-Station racer. It's not a 1980s band, D-Station. It is a sponsor of the Aston. But he was saying, you know, in America, a cold day, track temperatures are 70 degrees, not 1 or 7 or whatever minimal it is here. So they are
1 minute to open pit lane for LMGT qualifying session. Please advise drivers any laps which we see or which are reported as being done beyond the track limits will be deleted.
One of the struggles Corvette is having is that they've got the same car, the same drivers, and the same tyres they're used to in IMSA. Temperatures here are lower than they'd have anywhere, including Daytona, and they are struggling to figure out how to get the car to work on cold tyres.
30 seconds, under 30 seconds to open pit exit for LMGT qualifying. We are under 30 seconds to start the first qualifying session of the season.
And that was one of the reasons why, with 1 minute and 15 seconds, the tyres came out of the ovens on onto the cars. They're coming out about 80 or 90 degrees Celsius.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. LMGT qualifying session has started.
And then they also will be cooling down every second that they're sitting there. And now the drivers have got to go out. There's a critical point where the compound doesn't work and give you grip, and it actually just feels like ice. And if you are in the position where you're in that, it's difficult to start it up. However, Spa is one of the highest energy circuits into the tyre. What I mean is it puts so much load into the tyre that it basically beats the tyre up and beats the energy into it and the temperature into it. And so really by the time they get to the end of Sector 2, they'll be back up to temperature, but it is a trick to be able to do it.
And the temperature is dropping all the way up here as well, isn't it? Because, you know, predominantly straight line, you're not generating much heat through the brakes and into the wheels, and so, yeah, you're losing tyre temp all the way. You can see the two of our three Aston Martins here, the 98 car in front, and then that sky blue, it's not really, is it, livery of Ben Keating? That's a
baby blue.
Well, yeah, fabulous colour, whatever it is.
I was just going to say about that, you're exactly right there, Martin, about the tyre temperature. That's why sometimes on the second lap, the first sector is actually quicker than the first one. But the best of the tyres already gone. It's purely about getting prepared. Porsche and Ferrari in the GTE Pro, both cars of both teams have waited till all the AMs have gone out, and they're doing that to try to get a clean-out lap and to actually prepare it without having consideration of pushing and shoving for track position.
Amongst the pro cars, Richard Lietz is the first man out on track in the number 91 Porsche. It is the bronze-ranked drivers in all of the GTM cars. They're all out there right now. We wait for the first of the Ferraris. Here it comes right now. And that will be Alessandro Pierguidi in the number 51 car.
Corvette putting their young gun in, Oliver Gavin said, 40-year-old youngster Antonio Garcia. Although they've been teammates for more than a decade, nearly 15 years, he has never shared a car with Antonio. They've always been in the same garage, but in different car numbers. So this is a first and a last for him. You know, he was saying, I've just done my last final free practice. I'm not doing qualifying. Tomorrow is going to be my last first stint and my last stint.
But just under 70 kilometres time, we'll see the first ever competitive lap outside of North America for the Corvette C8R. Their first appearance in Europe, of course, for the new car. And Ben Keating comes around. He's already gone by Paul Dall'Anna to start that flying lap. And it is the Aston Martins, 1, 2, 3 on the road here.
Yeah. Ben Keating really flowered last year, I felt. He was racing in the Project One Porsche last year and really flowered, just put in some really strong stints throughout the season. I'm sure he's looking to build on that. It's a different car. It's his third different car in 3 seasons because he raced the Ford GT before, then the Porsche, now the Aston Martin. So talk about learning your craft in GTs. That's the way to do it.
To complete the lineup, so big one. It's the 77 cars, Christian Reed.
That's at the top of that. It'll be a red flag. That's the top of Eau Rouge. Ready on turn 4. He's lost it on the right-hander as he's crested the hill and went in very heavily. Red flag completely destroyed the car.
Now, this is the team boss at Proton Competition, Dempsey Proton Racing. He is the man who has started every single... He's now done more WC races than Louise Beckett. No more than Eduardo Freitas, but he has started every single race so far, and that is going to be a lot of work for the team in a very short period.
We're talking about cold tyres and tyre pressures. He's lost it coming up the hill on the right-hander, spun around. You can see already the engine air duct cover has come off as it's been turning around. All 4 wheels locked up and the impending thud is coming, and it comes front, side, back, and the right-hand side is kind of half got away with it.
Yeah, it all went in driver's side, didn't it? That's a big shut. And that debris field will take a while to clear up as well.
Well, first of all, I hope he's okay, because whichever way, that is a fast accident to go into the tyre wall, and it's good to see that he's out. Good to see that he's out in his own accord as well. Thumbs up to the doctors. Doctors will take away and give him a check. However, the car's going to need a little bit more than a check.
Yeah. GT Racing stalwart for so many years, 20+ years ago in FIA GT. He was a young kid, early 20s, racing with father Gerald. And I spoke to him a few years ago. His son is now in his mid-teens in his karting. I said, is he going to go racing as well? No.
Now.
No.
I did spot a very interesting conversation in the paddock at Barcelona between Christian Ried and Andrea Piccini, and that was about F4 for his son. So let's wait and see, but that was a nasty one, wasn't it? Great to see him walking away from the car.
And Al, where the cameras pick him up there cresting the rise, that's probably at least a full rotation from where the accident started, which will be right down in the dip.
Yeah, the accident started at the bottom of the hill. There's a little bit of a bump. The left rear tyre, more than likely, I would suspect, was a little bit cold, maybe a little bit low in pressure as well, because it was at the early part of the lap. And then it just there's a small bump as you go out of the compression, and it rises up. And if anybody's looking, go on Twitter and look for Duncan Vincent. You can see the speed of ferocity there. That's real speed. What we saw was slow-mo before. That's real speed. And he's lost it on the little bump. And then once it's gone, honestly, at that point, you're a passenger waiting on the thump. You don't know where the thump's coming. You don't know the angle. You're just waiting on it.
Yeah. You know, the only thing you know is it's coming, and it's going to be hard. So red flag, which means that everybody is back in the pit lane. Now, everybody will have put a heat cycle into their tyres, Alan. What does that mean for the next time that they go green?
Well, different heat cycle as well, because the tyres will now come off and go straight into the pits. But for Paul Dalla, for example, and also Ben Keating, they'd already started their flying lap. So they've done basically one lap and then a flying 1/3 of a lap, and now have to come in 80 kilometers per hour. And everything that they have done coming in has gone out. The temperature's completely out of the tyre. And I have to say, then it's a struggle to bring it back in again, bring it back to life.
Now, the question is not how long it's going to take to remove the car and sweep up the bits of carbon. The question for Eduardo Freitas, our race director, is, to the man on the ground, what's the state of the tyre wall? Because if one car goes off there, you know, sure as eggs are eggs, another one or more could easily go off there. So that's going to be the deciding factor as to how soon we go back to green flags. We've got 7 minutes on the clock, 6:51. Now, are they going to go with a new set of hot tyres?
If you were basically, if there's a bit of an issue and you got pickup on those, yes, you would go and try and run a new set. In that respect, it would be the best way to do it if you can. But right now, I think it's a case of there's cars still coming back in as well, Graham.
Absolutely. Just to remind people, that is a brand new car. This is the new spec of car, the 77 car. It's the RSR 19. One of 4 that they have here in Europe. And he lost that very early, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's at the bottom of the hill, Graham. There's a compression in the rear of the car, suddenly goes light, and there's a little bump here. We'll see it again. That's him coming through the shot now. And there it is, just over the curb. And at the curb at the right-hand side, that's where there is that little bump. And if you've got the wrong lateral load on at that point, it's a bit later than I thought he lost it, but it's still, the effect is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think the tyre wall absorbed it extremely well.
Yeah, which is good news for the driver. Obviously, that's the job, is to save the soft contents inside the hard shell. Looking here at one of our 2 Iron Lynx Ferraris. Now, this is the male crude car number 60. And Claudio Schiavone, who has got a lot of experience in this car with the team, because he raced in European Le Mans Series with Iron Lynx last year in that car, or in a similar car. So he knows the track, he knows the team, he knows the car. And for Iron Lynx, you know, as European Le Mans Series has tended to do, it has given them the taste of endurance racing and the confidence to step up to the world stage from a European-based series. And that's exactly what the whole ladder has been designed to do. It's
a new force, really, in GT racing. We've seen this team supported last season, throughout the season, by AF Corsa. There is still a modicum of AF Corsa support for those 2 cars in WEC, but increasingly this is being taken back in-house, and it's a growing enterprise under the stewardship, the management of the Piccini brothers, Giacomo and Andrea. But exciting things to come from this squad. We're going to hear a lot more of them. Always present the cars beautifully. We've seen them in the Michelin Le Mans Cup in the LMS. 3 cars, remember, from that team at the Le Mans 24 Hours last year.
Great view inside there of the safety system in the car. Little phone-sized screen in there which relays all the flag signals around the circuit. If you're going through yellow flags, it'll show a yellow screen with the word yellow on it. So the green for green, red for red, blue flags to let you know there's a car coming behind, black and white flags if you're being warned about driver safety standards. You can receive direct messages from race control as well. Eduardo Freitas can tell the driver of any specific car, track limits, turn 7, if you continue to, you know, if you're exceeding the track limits in the same place, and he thinks you probably don't realise. But it's a great way of, particularly in the dark and particularly on a long circuit where you might be out of radio contact, and we're thinking Le Mans here, it's a great way of making sure that everybody is absolutely clear about what the conditions of the track are.
So we'll wait and hear what we can from the Dempsey Proton team. That will obviously come after qualifying. Would add here, I did say a little earlier in the broadcast that they have multiple cars here in Europe. There's 2 ELMS cars. Not beyond the realms of possibility one of those might need to be called up for tomorrow.
Well, and it wouldn't be the first time this week either, because on Monday and Tuesday in the prologue, which is the pre-season testing days, no fewer than 4 cars were destroyed in accidents.
You see a new section of conveyor belt being put into the tyre wall there. So
it's just holding it in position. All these tyres are actually stacked and bound in cylinders, and then after that they're bound together, and then there's the conveyor belt walling that goes along the front of it. And it's amazing the absorption capability of old tyres, and it's taken a long time for technology to be able to improve on that.
Yeah. Well, in terms of efficiency and also in terms of cost versus efficiency, there's nothing better and nothing much cheaper than used second-hand tyres.
It's been a fantastic contribution, by the way, to international motorsport for Alan to test that so often during his career.
God, you are so witty. So,
well, let's get down to Dempsey Proton. Duncan Vincent is there.
You can understand emotions are very high just now in the Dempsey Proton garage. Nobody really wanting to speak to us and give us information, but the most important thing we saw was Christian was out of the car at the top of Loradion there. It was a sizable shunt. We will get an update from the team later on, but I think everybody can understand from what the team's been through this week, there is a lot of work to be done here. So the Dempsey Proton guys, they've got it all to do again.
Yeah, they do, and at the moment they'll also be waiting in the car coming back to be able to understand exactly the extent of that damage. Is it just superficial in terms of bodywork and suspension, or is it actually something a little bit more structural than that? But the one thing I'm sure they're all very pleased of is the driver's popped himself out. But this red flag is moving on. We're going to get information about the restart in 2.5 minutes. And then I suspect it'll be quite quick after that before it goes back to green for the GTE category. Long-standing
family team. Did spot Christian's father in the background, that shot, but long-standing family team, and they will be utterly delighted to have seen Chris walk away from what was a very nasty shot that didn't look any better whichever angle you looked at it, did it?
No.
It was a nasty one there. So again, further testament to just how astonishingly safe these cars are nowadays.
Now, the extra white lines there, that is the pit exit road, which is particularly why the sweeper there is sweeping up the gravel. So, yeah, I mean, Gerald, we talked about Christian and his son potentially going racing, and his dad, Gerald, is there as well.
The session at 18:36, 18:36, in 3 minutes and 1 second.
Worth mentioning, by the way, the clock did stop with the red flag, so we are at 6 minutes and 51 seconds remaining in this session when we get back going. That will, I think, allow 2 flying laps.
Well, what it's done is taken away any margin for error, really, because, yeah, 4 minutes, which is an in-lap and an out-lap, probably.
Well, it's a little bit more because your out-lap's going to be a little bit longer.
Slower, yeah.
And so, therefore, you could maybe get 2 flying laps in there, but I think there you'll probably see people queuing up at the end of the pit lane just to make sure. Because the thing that happens there is if you don't go for it, and you get a track limits warning, then you've lost it. And you're starting not just at the back of the group you're in, for example, GTE Pro, but you're starting at the back of everybody.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be a completely different strategy this time around for the GTE Pros to get out early and keep out the carnage. I'm going to just really briefly correct you, Martin, we're not using that part of pit exit here.
Oh, no,
we're just doing the
right.
Grand Prix circuit here, so they come out just at the exit of La Source.
Indeed so.
One quick addition there. There's the 51 car with the kind of new style, old style number panels on it. The second to Ferrari this year, a change there, both in driver. Daniel Serra joins us for the full season alongside Miguel Molina. But also, it is the 52, not the 71 as the second. Let's go down to Porsche and hear what they're saying.
Well, you don't want me to wait at the pit 69, right?
There's no timing. We'll put them on as soon as it goes green. Changing.
Yeah, this is okay, but not already now.
It's exactly that, talking about whether they go to the end of the pit lane and wait. As we see, that is actually Paul Dall'Anna following out Ben Keating again. And it's still red flag at the moment. We've got a few seconds to go, 55 seconds to go before it will go green, and they'll go to the end of the pit lane. That is because they want to be absolutely clear they get all the options available to them.
Yeah.
Ferrari putting on the tyre.
Yeah, lovely. You're allowed to do different things with your numbered panels on the door. So Ferrari have gone with that a nice old classic roundel with a straightforward number, and you can see some of the other cars have got sort of color-coded numbers and so on in their door panels as well. See, nobody's actually got NASCAR-style numbers on the roof, which I still think, as a fan, I would like to see on a lot more cars, so you can actually recognise their number from the grandstand as they come past you at 140, 50, whatever miles an hour. Chetelaar Racing, not new to the championship, but new to GT. In World Endurance before, they've been racing prototypes. And Graham, that's a very big change for a team and for all the drivers to get their heads around a toy that they've never played with.
Very much so, green light, as we go back to qualifying, but but they're all looking forward to it, and this is a proudly Italian team. Of course, that's why they stuck for so long with the Dallara that didn't perhaps serve them as well as they'd hoped in LMP2, but it's certainly fair to say they're delighted to be aboard this Ferrari. It looks absolutely amazing in that deep blue.
Yeah, great colour scheme.
Just want to remember that we do have tyre limitations.
Oh
as well.
my goodness, on an outlap
it's
as
the
well.
56. It's the 56. He's had exactly the same accident.
And again now, because time is short, drivers are trying to push on their outlap too early. And that is Egidio Perfetti, the Mentos Team Project One Porsche. World champion 2 years ago in GTE AM, or champion 2 years ago in GTE AM. And no sooner have we gone green than we are back to red. What was that, 40 seconds, 38 seconds?
He's gone in quick, and it is exactly the same incident, you're right.
And again for the Norwegian, the car's going to come around. He's on the left-hand side, the driver's side, and that's the one that's going to end up clattering into the tyres.
He's looking, he knows what's coming.
Yeah, brace, brace, brace. Hands off the wheel, feet off the pedals if you can, and doesn't look any better either, does it? There's going to be a lot of work at Porsche Kundendienst tonight, getting panels and corners and...
Not been a very good week for Team Project One. We already lost their other car after an incident in the prologue.
Some cars didn't even get out of the pit lane. That's Thomas Floor's car coming back.
Yeah, but that's important.
Francois Perotto's car.
Because as we have not even got the first of the cars that went out the pit lane are not even through the middle part of the circuit. This car at least can get back in the tyres, into the ovens as well. As Egidio Perfetti's out the car, another big positive. And now he'll look around and think, oh, the frustration. But I have to say that in these conditions, between hero and zero, the margins are millimetre extra on the throttle pedal or a little bit to the left or the right.
Yeah. There's the guys at Team Project One. They know there is a long night in the offing if... Well, first of all, they're going to have to strip the car down and see what the suspension pickup points and all the other bits look like, what the roll cage looks like. And that's then before you start getting the bits from the Porsche truck and trying to rebuild it.
They'll already be preparing for that. They'll know from the camera angles what all the obvious points are, and so they'll be preparing all the corners, the bodywork, radiators, these sort of things. Porsche as well, being able to pull the car back in as the first of Ben Keating and co are now just coming up to the final chicane to come into the pit lane.
So Ben Keating's now done one out lap, a bit of a flying lap and a bit of another out lap, so he's sort of heating the tyres through twice now.
But what I was about to say as well, there's a restricted number of new tyres for the qualifying in the race. For the GTE Pro, it's 4 sets plus 2 spare tyres, so 4.5 sets effectively. So if you use them all trying to get your qualifying now, then it means that you've got less for the race tomorrow, and it's a 6-hour race, and tyre life is important, tyre performance is important. For the GTE AM, then it is a little bit better. They've got 26 tyres in total. As we see another shot of him with an oversteer.
Well, let's get down to the pit lane to Team Project One. Duncan Vincent's caught up with Axel Funke, the team boss.
You join us in the Project One garage. Axel, I'm very sorry to be here doing this, but first of all, what have you heard from Egidio?
Well, Egidio's all right. He stepped out of the car by himself. He lost the rear out of Radion, tried to save it. But I don't know what to say at the moment.
It's been a very difficult week. Do you guys have enough spares to complete the rebuild for this car?
Well, spares are enough there. On the 46, during the prologue, we lost the chassis. It was not repairable, it wasn't safe enough. On first sight, the impact didn't look too bad, so I mean, the boys are getting ready. They're already discussing what to do, which corners we need, and yeah, we push through the night and have it back on track tomorrow.
Do you think that was cold tyres after the sitting in the pit lane, or maybe a low pressure just caught him out there?
No, well, after the first red, the tyres went back in the oven directly, back on the car. We went out first. We didn't really wait long, 5 seconds. On red light. It's nothing about red tyres. It was like a small error from Egidio.
Yeah, very unlike him. Axel, thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Welcome.
He's devastated, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is, but this is one of the situations. I think motor racing teams are fantastic at crisis management and being able to pivot. This is something that wasn't expected, but it's something that's also been prepared for. So they will have the car out tomorrow. As you can see it once again, these things do happen. They sometimes go wrong, but it's the good shots to make the good golf players, not sorry, the good recoveries, I should say, not the good shots that make the good golf players.
So where does that leave everybody else getting ready to go again? Let's hear from the 92 car.
On the tires, you are sure of what we are doing? Because I've seen also 91 now and brand new. For sure, it's brand new. It's a little better, that's for sure, but it's a small disadvantage for the race.
Okay, so that's Kevin Esch in the 92 car saying, are you sure we're going to stay on these tyres? Because the 91 car's got new tyres.
Will be resumed on a very short call. I estimate less than 2 minutes. I'm not giving a time. It will be on a very short call, less than 2 minutes.
And that's a strategy choice between the two sets of drivers and engineers. 92 are using the tyre that they have put a little bit of work into. 91 going with fresh out of the oven tyres. 92 will have a race advantage, perhaps, in terms of slightly fresher tyres at some point. 91 might have a speed advantage and be further up the grid.
Well, that's used tyres going on the 98.
I would imagine with Paul Dalla it will be the same set that he's had on twice already. Ben Keating probably will. There's the D station car, 777, black and green in the centre there, run by Tom Ferrier's TF Sport team, as is that bright blue machine. So TF Sport, we've seen in the last couple of years, particularly with Sally Jolic, with a very distinctive livery. Last year was Ferrari red. This year they've gone with, well, not quite Alpine blue, but definitely a very blue sky thinking colour scheme.
I think Sally would say Turkish red, but...
Absolutely right, yes you would, but with a big front-engine GT car like that, it did look a lot like it should be a 550 Maranello or something.
Just like his LMP2 and ELMS looks pretty blooming good in that colour as well.
I think, in fact, I think I'm right.
Green light, and it has been a short call. They just switched the light. 6 minutes and 10 seconds, roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds for this outlap, if everything goes according to plan.
Absolutely. One of those two cars, by the way, and I've lost track of which of the two, or whether or not it's the one that actually was damaged in the weekend, is actually the Sally Yollet car. Or one of them.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you, I'm sure everybody's going to be taking a lift through Eau Rouge in this outlap.
Let's hope so.
Well, listen, if you don't get through Eau Rouge, you're doing nothing else, are you? So get through Eau Rouge. Okay, here we go. On board with the 91 car. And this is Richard Leitz on brand new tyre. And he's behind Claudio Schiavone. That's the Iron Lynx car. The other one with the pink highlights, 85, is colloquially known as the Iron Dames, because that's the all-female car.
Yeah, that's all the other, as we run on with the only GTE Pro that's actually out on circuit. All of the other GTE Pros, except the Porsche, now just starts to make his way out of the pit lane. The Corvette and the Ferraris still in there as well.
No.
Ferraris have gone, apologies.
Yeah. So we're missing two cars, Christian Ried's Dempsey Proton Porsche and Egidio Perfetti's Team Project 1 Porsche. So 15 cars, 14 at the moment out on track. The Corvette has yet to leave the blocks.
As you said that with those words, I could hear a car firing up and feel it firing up beneath us. That will be the Corvette.
Yeah, you can hear it now, but it doesn't make the tower shake like the old car did, the front engine car. It is a very, Oliver Gowan said, it is a little easier on the ears when you're inside the car, because a lot of the noise of the combustion is behind you rather than coming past you from the front.
Slightly less on the Richter scale than it was before. First cars coming round to complete their warming up laps.
Yeah, Paul Dall'Anna in the 98 Aston Martin. That is the first car.
Yeah, low 38 is what we're looking for the first sector as Dall'Anna crosses the line to start. This time it's Dall'Anna with Keating behind. The last twice it's been Keating leading with Dall'Anna, so they switched around. And like I say, 38.2 is a very quick time for the pros, and the AMs are just a sniff behind in this first sector.
Now again, it's not just the warm-up lap, is it? It's the first lap through here at full speed. Now Dall'Anna's done one before, Keating's done one before, so they've got a little bit of a feel for it. But half the cars here hadn't started a flying lap on either of our previous aborted attempts to get qualifying underway. 3 minutes and 17 seconds. You don't get much fat on this boat, do you, after two red flags?
Tell you one, the 91 Ferrari's got a little bit of AM traffic ahead of him, and that's the one that I think is, sorry, the 91 Porsche, I should say, in the back there, has maybe not quite timed it right. The sister car, though, of Estra, has got absolutely nothing for about 30 seconds all around him, as we're now going through with, I think, we're on board with the 51 with Pierre Guidi as he drops down the hill. Now coming to Pouhon with Paul Dall'Anna.
So Kevin Estra's engineer clearly insisting that they use the tyres that were on, but on your side, Kevin, we're going to send you out a quarter of a lap behind everybody else, so you should be able to use them. Richard might get stuck in traffic. Dall'Anna 39.044 in the first sector. Fastest is Alessandro Pierguidi, 38.4.
It's a couple of tenths off what they were doing this morning, but it is a little bit cooler as well than what we were doing this morning.
Car 52 has had a lap deleted. That's the Ferrari of Miguel Molina.
That's got to be up at Eau Rouge basically at the start of the lap. He should be able to get round to make another one, but he's got no more other options. He's got to get this next lap right.
Same for Satoshi Hoshino in that black and green D-Station Racing Aston Martin. His flying lap has been deleted. He has no time on the board.
Kevin Estra 38.1 as now Paul Dall'Anna comes round to do his first lap. 1 minute 42 seconds. He's got another lap that he could do if he needs it. First one goes in 2 minutes 15.8.
Also losing a lap, car 83, Francois Perrodo loses his first lap. That's the defending champions, remember?
Ben
90
Keating,
90 seconds
10:2:16.
on the clock.
And here we go, Ben Keating popped himself into second. However, it's going to be Ferrari at the top where Guidi gets it. Now remember, Molina had his time taken away. Richard Leitz has popped into quickest. However, it's his teammate Kevin Estre, fastest in the first sector, just coming through towards the end of the second sector as these guys start their second lap.
Estre on target to be nearly 4/10 up on Richard Leitz.
Boom, look at that middle sector from Kevin Estre. He's really on it as we see the 83 Pro-Am car coming round to finish the end of the lap. There's a real shuffle for position, but we'll be going in a second to see Kevin Estre, I'm sure, putting in the quickest lap very soon.
Blue Cetilar car going 6th overall, 4th in AM.
Here he is. What a lap this is going to be by Kevin Estre. 1.5 seconds in the middle sector. Clean and lovely
Massive.
out of the last corner. Nice onto the throttle.
And that is the car, remember, that didn't have the brand new set of tyres put on it.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, huge lap. 1.497 seconds quicker than his teammate.
Under that pressure as well. Further cars having laps deleted, by the way. Number 60, Iron Lynx, loses its first flying lap.
Yeah.
And may I also say, that wasn't as quick as he did in the middle sector this morning. So there is a little bit of extra time in there if he hooks it all up, or maybe gets a new set of tyres.
So Antonio Garcia goes 4th in GTE Pro in the Corvette. He has one more lap. Checkered flag is out. This is the last chance saloon for Satoshi Hoshino to avoid starting last of the healthy cars. There will be 2 at the back, which will be the Project One and Dempsey Proton cars that crashed.
Ben Keating, though, looks like he's on for moving up here. He's 7/10 up as he comes in towards the final chicane. Now, this is for the GT AM classification. At the moment, he's 3rd overall in the TF Sport. Aston, the light blue car, as he now comes out of the final corner. But I think this is going to propel him up because he was really clean coming out of the final corner.
Paul Dall'Alana has completed his lap. He is fastest. No, Ben Keating pips him. So he goes actually a second quicker, give or take 45 thousandths. That's a big lap again from Ben Keating, his first qualifying session in an Aston Martin.
And that was with an improvement from Paul Dall'Alana on that lap as well. Oh, that's a mighty lap from Ben Keating.
Big effort from Keating. So AF Corsa 2nd and 4th in GTE Pro. Miguel Molina ahead of Richard Leitz and Alessandro Pierre Guidi.
Yeah, closing the gaps there, but still over half a second back for the next 3 in GT Pro, and still Kevin Estre going very quickly and goes purple in the middle sector.
Yeah, taking the whip to the horse. Here's Antonio Garcia. It's not going to be an improvement. It's a better, it is going to be an improvement. Better first sector for him. And maybe this is where their tyre temperature is coming in.
Well, I think it is so cold, and probably the outlaps were a little bit more gentle after the red flags. But anyway, it looks to be the second lap is quicker, but not as quick as Estre was able to do anyway. And now he's just crossed the line and gone a smidge quicker again. 2:11.219, 1.1 seconds quicker than anybody else. Kevin Estre's whacked it onto pole position.
That's half a second.
Time.
It's an extra half a second gap. It was 6/10 before he crossed that line. Amazing stuff. Here comes the Corvette.
That's everything Neil Jarni taught him about racing GTs. Here comes the Corvette of Antonio Garcia, and he comes across the line. It will be a better lap, but it does not improve his position.
Great lap, by the way, in GTM from the number 88 car, and Andrew Harrianto, his debut here in the FI World Endurance Championship, and 3rd quickest in the surviving Dempsey Proton Porsche at the moment.
Excellent. So Aston, and Porsche, the top 3 in GTE AM. Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche, the top 3 in GTE Pro. And pole going by, what's 1.1 seconds around here? That is a country mile, isn't it? To Kevin Estre. That's just a superlative performance.
No, that's a quiet, satisfied smile when you're on your way back in.
Well, let's hear team radio from the 92 Porsche crew.
Here you are, mate. Here's what a good one.
You're 1 second ahead of everyone.
Well, actually, you're 1.1 seconds to be precise, which is 10% different to what your engineer said. So congratulations, Kevin Estre. Not just necessarily for the lap, but to be able to deliver it twice.
Don't normally apologise for language, but you can understand how, as with every foreigner who learns English, it's the old Anglo-Saxon words that they learn first. You can understand his delight with that. That wasn't just a proper lap, that was 2 proper laps, Graham.
I'm trying to think. I think he's been top of the tree in GT Pro in all bar 1, maybe 2 track sessions all week. He's been on absolutely stellar form. What has Kevin Estre found in the locker?
Even behind that mask, you could see the huge smile on Neil Jarney's face. Of course, he's now realising what he's going to have to match.
But look how close it is when you run down the times, though. There's a huge gap from Kevin Estre to Miguel Molina, but then after that, there's only 0.2 of a second between the next 3 cars. And that's including Estre's teammate, Richard Leitz, in third. So it's Molina, Leitz, Pierre Guidi.
And that's a mark of that achievement. That's an astonishing qualifying lap.
Satoshi Hoshino ran wide again on his final shot, so he does not set a time. So the 777 car should probably start ahead of Team Project 1 and Dempsey Proton because he was at least on track. I don't know what the rule is there, but he had laps that he'd set disallowed. So 3 cars with no times. Well, Neil Jarney is in the garage. Let's hear from Duncan Vincent down at the 92 Porsche GT team, our pole sitters in the GT qualifying.
The 92 car of Kevin Estre and Neil Jarney takes pole position. Neil, that was a sensational lap that Kevin's managed to put together. 2 sensationals. He was questioning whether the decision was correct. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, an amazing lap. I think that's a new lap record for GT cars around here. He really got it nailed. And not easy conditions out there, as we saw, because it's quite cold now and getting the tires to work, and he managed that perfectly. And yeah, he did the second lap just for safety in case of track limits, but that he chunks out another 7 or 5/10 out of that is impressive.
And how are you enjoying GTE Pro?
Oh, so far a lot. I have to say, I wasn't quite sure how it will feel, but now around this track, it's really a car you need to drive, you know. You need to drive it, you feel it, and you can do a lot with the brakes and steering, so I enjoy it a lot, I have to say.
Congratulations on pole, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, the banker lap, he just sliced another ½ second out. That's how you build a banker lap, goodness. And by the way, when a Swiss tells you it's getting cold, you know that the temperature is dropping. It's not just Duncan complaining. So there we go. The 92 Porsche, not 1 but 2 laps that left everybody else reeling on the ropes. That's an impressive way to start the season. And as ever, your biggest rival is the car that is the same as yours in the garage, and that's a big feather in the cap of the 92 crew to put, not just to take pole away from 91, but to do it so comprehensively. Of course, Estre's got a bit of GT history here at Spa as well, so that doesn't hurt.
He's got a bit of GT history more or less everywhere, hasn't he? I can remember him absolutely devastating the Nürburgring 24 hours lap record in qualifying in a McLaren some years ago before he became a Porsche driver. And we've got another 10 minutes of this level of entertainment to come with the LMP2s and for the very first time qualifying for the hypercars.
Well, that 10-minute session took very nearly 40 minutes. So let's hope that this 10-minute session takes a little closer to 10 minutes. Here we see one of our new cars. Now, for those who watch all sorts of endurance racing, ARC Bratislava is actually a very well-known name, but even in 24-hour races, because they've been part of the Creventic 24-hour series for a number of years. Miro Konopka is the leading light there, and that brings back the Ligier chassis to World Endurance Championship racing again.
Great to see. That was Darren Burke, by the look of it, about to climb aboard that car.
Well, it's either that or Pikachu.
There's the number 8 Toyota GR010. We're going to have to remember that one. Hybrid, ready to go. And we're about to see just exactly what pace these cars can deliver in these conditions.
Well, the view on board of the new 010 hypercar is very familiar. All the same names, all the same helmets, you know, the driver door bar protection and everything else. All looks the same, but outside, oh boy, that's very different. And under the skin, don't think it's last year's car with a new dress on. if you try persuading Pascal Vasselon that that's what it is, then you're in for a very short shrift indeed there. So it's a whole new era, hypercar, a whole new top tier of sports car racing, which will include Le Mans hypercars and, in the fullness of time, LMDH, the IMSA hybrid-powered version. You can have hybrid, as Toyota Gazoo Racing do. You don't have to have hybrid. It can be road-related. It doesn't have to be road-related. It can be a pure prototype. It can be a development of an actual road car. So there's all, it's a broad church.
It is,
I think,
indeed.
is the phrase we're looking for.
And that's before we get into LMP2, and lots of new look, lots of new names, and as you were saying earlier in the week, lots of stars in reasonably priced cars.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you look at the names that are here, you know, just in that one Jota car, you've got a very experienced gentleman driver, Roberto Gonzalez, and then you've got the reigning Formula E champion,
and the 2014 FIWC World Champion.
Exactly.
And Davidson. It's beyond that, stars from F1, stars from Formula E, stars from sports car racing, from all over the shop. And it is going to get better through the season, particularly at Le Mans. We've got some excellent announcements still to come.
And here is our other hypercar entrant. This is from Alpine Elf Matmut, so it's run by Philippe Signot and the Senior Tech team. So Senior Tech Elf, as we've seen in LMP2 for a number of years. The colours are the same, and if you don't really look that closely, you think, oh, it's their car from last year. It very much isn't. It's a very, very different machine to anything they've run before, so they're on a real learning curve. Toyota Gazoo Racing on a real learning curve. And in terms of the level of performance, maybe so too is car number one. Richard Mille Racing Team, that car ran with its all-female crew last year in the European Le Mans Series, but here it's a whole different ball game, different categories, more competition, and new names as well, like PR1 Motorsport, very experienced IMSA racing team, racing in the World Championship for the first time as well.
We just got a quick look at them, a 24 car being run here in conjunction with Panis Racing, and that comes courtesy of the automatic invitation to the Le Mans 24 Hours for Patrick Kelly in the number 24 car. Quick shot as well as another of our new teams, Real Team Racing, operated with TDS Racing. And here's one of the big names that's come to the WEC this year. This is the number 31 WRT Orica, already with racing success to their name in the European Le Mans Series. They're going to be looking to see what they can do to double up with another great driver lineup. And finally, before we get to Green Flag Racing, right at the front there, the number 34 car, familiar colour scheme to anybody who follows the endurance racing world around the planet. That is Inter Europol, a Polish team in the FI World Endurance Championship for the first time, with I think, a spellbinding collection of drivers in that car, with Renger van der Zande and Alex Brundle as the two pro cars aboard it.
And you see, yeah, Polish team, ALC Bratislava, of course, a Slovak team. So we've got two brand new nations. It's been a long while since we've had a Belgian.
I think that may be a first. Oh, no, apologies. Very first year of the Pro Speed.
Yeah, OK. Yeah, Pro Speed Porsches, OK. Is there a local than WRT to Spa?
No.
Unless, you know, you're actually born in the paddock
Not
as a
unless
driver.
the bloke who runs the Total station at the gates is somehow.
Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, hugely local for them. And you know, the dawn of a brand new era. In fact, if you watch the little piece that Alexander Wurz did talking about the 010 or the 010 Toyota, a new golden era he's predicting. He's super excited about this, and rightly so. Green flag for the first time, hypercar qualifying. So it's prototypes, hypercar and LMP2. And it's a different look compared to last year's Toyota Gazoo Racing entries. The numbers remain the same, the names on the doors are the same, everything else changes.
So the two Japanese drivers in the number 7 and number 8 car. 7 is in the hands of Kamui Kobayashi, 8 in the hands of Kazuki Nakajima. They topped the final free practice session, finding time through the week. And let's just see what can be done in qualifying trim by these brand new cars.
Yeah, they were very, very quick in the first and the third sectors of the circuit, but it's this part of the track, the twisty downhill sections, where they weren't quite optimum. They've improved from the testing and they've improved all the way through, but they're still half a second off in that middle sector, so they need to nail the first and third sectors to make up for the deficit in the middle part of the track.
And they're working hard there to get the second car by the Inter-Europol Orica to lead this field around for the first flying laps.
And there's Felipe Albuquerque, a bit of the flashing lights. He's looking at track position right now and being very aggressive to do two things: to get track position, but also to maintain the temperature in the tyres. So it looks like with that Goodyear tyre, they really need to nail it and work it very, very hard on the out lap to make sure that it's prepared for that flying lap itself.
Yeah, he wasn't messing there, went by Tatiana Calderon in the #1 Richard Mille car in pith path. Not sure she thought he was coming necessarily, but he was not hanging around. In front of him is the yellow and green of Alex Brundle in the Inter-Europol competition car, number 34 LMP2 car. And first across the stripe to start a flying lap are the two Toyotas. They weren't first out of the pit lane, but Kamui Kobayashi gets the first flying lap underway for a hypercar anywhere on the planet. And I sense that's probably, Alan, why the two Japanese drivers are in for Toyota Gazoo Racing, because this is a very first, and it is, of course, a Japanese manufacturer.
Yeah, maybe that they were actually the right ones to put it in for that as well, because I've got to say that Kobayashi has probably been one of the fastest drivers Toyota have had, and Nakajima has brought them so much success in the past through performance. As they drop up to the first sector, it's definitely Toyota, but it is Nakajima that's a little bit quicker this car, but he's gone a bit wide in Les Combes and dropped a little bit of time there, but he was a tenth and a half up at the end of the first sector. Now down through the long right-hander that you just never ends. Car never feels good. Into the quick flick left and then back on the throttles. You drop down to one of the most beautiful corners, being Pouhon, double left-hander.
And this elements of the track, Sector 2, is the place where the 0-10 is struggling. It's very quick in Sector 1, very quick in Sector 3.
It is, but it's 1.4 seconds quicker than Felipe Albuquerque in the LMP2 car in Sector 1. So Albuquerque is going to have to work pretty hard in this middle sector to try to gain that back. Now as Kobayashi comes through to the end of the sector and he drops it through Stavolo, long run up, and it's purple for him, but he's the first car through there, a 55.7. Now to see what his teammate Nakajima does. Nakajima's dropped a quarter of a second. That's what we saw at the top of the hill about 40 seconds ago, was that little mistake. So it's now basically whoever gets the braking right into the final chicane is going to stick it onto the front row of the grid pole position.
Right now, looks like it should be Kamui Kobayashi. Nakajima is going to have to produce something very special in a similar car to find a quarter of a second. They'll get another bite of the cherry.
2 minutes, .747 is the mark. Significantly quicker than we've seen in free practice.
2 seconds quicker than what we've seen in free practice as Felipe Albuquerque drops it into third place as well. That was a sort of mark of what performance they actually have.
That is, what is that, 2.2 seconds, the gap at the moment between the leading hypercar and the leading LMP2 car. Yep. Felipe Albuquerque, by the way, as dominant as Kevin Estre's been in GTE Pro in his LMP2 car through the week. That is as good an indication you've got of what the pace is there to find right now. Norman Nato just dropped to the second in LMP2 in the number 70 car.
Yeah, but I would never look at it already, because I see further down you've got Ben Hanley that there's been very quick in the first sector. Guido van de Garde as well has been quick. Robin Frins, the local hero in WRT car, a little bit off, 3/10. So therefore, as much as Albuquerque's on top at the moment in LMP2, let's wait to the end of the lap there.
Also, two Low Countries drivers in the 26G drive car, Nick de Vries, and in the 28 car for Jota, Stoffel van Doorn, both heading on to outlaps. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, but they're just going to go straight at it and get that one lap nailed. Yeah. The one thing about both of those drivers, they're used to that one lap focus, and they obviously feel confident enough to be able to deliver it round here. We've seen certainly Nick de Vries putting in some incredible qualifying laps and race laps as well. Stoffel van Doorn, I think we can pretty much say that he can do the same.
Robin Frins as well, with another one to watch, possibly on his second flyer here. Doesn't look quite to be Albuquerque's pace right now. Here comes Ben Hanley though, in the number 21 car, the Dragon Speed USA car. just across the line. Where's the 21 car going to pop into?
He's down in 5th place.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. 2:04, so basically a reasonable chunk off over the second.
Van der Garde pops up into 2nd place in LMP2. 29 car. This is one of the cars that's been rebuilt since a big accident earlier in the week.
And it was such an exciting factor in so many races last year, wasn't it, that yellow and black Racing Team Netherlands car?
Yeah, half a second off in comparison to Guido van der Garde's. They're in the pits for both Toyotas, so they're calling it a day. Norman Nato as well, sorry, they're in 36. Sorry, apologies, not in the 36, is he?
Nico Lapierre, he has not set a flying lap in the Elf, in the Alpine.
That's a technical problem.
He looks away.
New tyres going on, Louise Beckett reports.
He's going to have to hurry up, Louise, because he's got a minute before he needs to get out there. Otherwise, he'll never make it round.
Yeah.
So Toyotas, I think, have called it a day.
Yeah, 7 ahead of 8, the champions last year, as that's how they finished. New tyres on 22, United Autosports. Felipe Albuquerque, now is this a rehearsal? Is he going back out again? Surely no.
They're pushing him back, he's going to go.
There's Richard Dean.
He may be
Phil
just
Hansen.
making sure, prepared just in case. No, he's gone.
Going. He's going again. Is he going for a front row?
Well, we're laughing, but you know what? He has been in amazing form, Felipe Albuquerque, all week, and for that matter, all year last year as well. Defending champions, as we've said.
Can he find 1.6 seconds? That's what he needs to get ahead of Kazuki Nakajima.
That's a big ask.
He'll be Popeye if he finds 1.6 seconds, but, you know, I wouldn't put it past him the way that he's been. Everything he's touched has turned to gold in the last 12 months.
Now, the potential worry is this man, Guido van der Garde. Has he actually gone out to try and get a lap to defend against Guido that pole position and the points that go with it?
Well, Guido's out there and still running, so
yeah.
Guido's into the pits, but Guido will not come back out.
No, he won't.
I don't think he'll never make it round to start another lap.
Big shift around in the middle order, by the way, as teams are finding some pace. Real Team Racing's Norman Nato is now 3rd. Roberto Merri is up into 4th position in LMP2, and Davidson 5th. Ben Hanley, up to 5th, is just shuffled back down to 6th again.
Yeah, PR1's Gabby Aubrey was as high as 5th. He's being pushed down to 7th, ahead of Robin Friens.
Yeah, but when we look at it, we're talking about Stoffel van Dorn. That wasn't a blinding lap by Stoffel in the Jota, as he was, he's basically down there at the moment in 9th in class. However, the WRT car of Robin Friens is there just picking up to go again. But the man on a mission is Nick de Vries, this car, as he's now coming down into the chicane. The porpoising around, bouncing around, as he's braking hard into the final chicane.
He's on pole position pace for LMP2. And can he make it across the line quicker than that 2:02.937 for Felipe Albuquerque?
And he has set the fastest middle sector of the entire field. He is 2nd behind United, 44 seconds. He'll start another lap. Robin Friens.
He's 2nd, but he's on the same 10th of a second.
Yeah.
He's 200ths behind in reality. So that 200ths is a tiny little bit of braking, a little bit over a curb, a little bit of an oversteer moment. Basically nothing at all. As we're looking at the WRT car at the bottom of the hill, new to this category. They've done one race here before, several years ago in LMP2, but in reality, we know them from their GT or DTM. However, they're coming into the World Endurance Championship, having also touched their foot in the water in ELMS just a few weeks ago.
Look at Nico Lapierre's commitment there.
Absolutely on it, and going quickly now. They're going to be looking to salvage something from what's not been a great start to their qualifying run. And the checkered flag is already out. This is going to be one and done for the 36.
Stoffel van Dorn going quicker in the middle sector.
Albuquerque is 2/10 up at the beginning of the first sector on this second timed lap, or sorry, second tyre set that he's doing, as we're watching Nicolas Lapierre dropping down the hill through Brussels in the hypercar.
Stoffel van Dorn completes his qualifying run. He would be no better than 5th in the number 28 Jota car. So the second Jota car will come through no better than 7th. Bracken Speed 8th. Team WRT, by the way, 10th.
On board with the Alpine hypercar driver, Nico Lapierre is currently last in the field of 17 cars here.
Nick de Vries, the man we're looking at, he's hundreds behind, but his middle sector is quicker again. He's delivered another faster middle sector than Felipe Albuquerque, who's quicker in the first sector.
What?
So it's nip and tuck between these two for pole positions.
Albuquerque betters that
Quicker
time.
in the second
Betters
sector
that
as
time.
well. De Vries versus Albuquerque. Mano a mano, one driver, one car. And De Vries comes across the line.
Doesn't get it.
Does not improve, does he?
He doesn't improve, so that means Albuquerque could improve, but he's still going to be in pole position as he crosses the checkered flag.
How much more does Albuquerque find? 2:02.4 to 2:01.2. He's 1.6 off pole, but he's only 0.8 of a second behind the second Toyota Gazoo racing car, and Nicolas Lapierre does not quite get third place with the Alpine. He bangs in a lap that is just between Albuquerque and De Vries.
Absolutely fantastic driving laps there in all the categories. Kobayashi getting the applause and congratulations, and deservedly so. They were basically the strongest car last year, and they've picked up with this new hypercar category, and again stuck it on pole position. Very, very good show from them. But LMP2, whew, what a battle there.
Yeah. How much fun is that going to be? And they are, and this is in one lap, no fuel, full hybrid all the way round, qualifying pace. When we get into the race and traffic and potentially weather throwing itself into the mix and all sorts of other different regulation changes that we'll talk about in the race itself, we could have a very interesting battle between LMP2 and hypercar. Well, Kamui Kobayashi is out of the car. He has set the first ever hypercar pole position. Duncan Vincent is with him. Louise Beckett is with him.
We've got to do the quick photo, otherwise we'll lose the car.
Everybody wanted me now.
Well, Kamui's just going to have a photo taken before he can speak to us. They just need to get a quick picture of the pole man from the number 7 Toyota, and then he will come and speak to us.
And rightly so, Lou. This is history being made, has been made. The first man ever to take a pole position in a hypercar class.
As you see, the second place in LMP2 Jumbo team, Nick de Vries, sorry, apologies. Third racing team, Netherlands. Nick de Vries used to drive for this team and jumped ship on the other side. And now third place for Guido van de Garde. But we go back to pole position man, Kamui Kobayashi with Louise Beckett.
Well, Kamui, it is the first pole of hypercar, and you got it, fastest man out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think in the beginning of the week, I think we were a little bit struggling in terms of the speed, but actually I think we never done like low fuel. Used to be, I think our car carry, you know, TS050. We used to carry like around 13 kilo. But actually, this car, we are carrying 60 kilo, so it's double time. So basically, we don't know the fuel effect. And even in the test, we never done the low fuel. So actually, I'm pretty happy to see this lap time, because we expected it's going to be more tough. But in the end, I think we achieved quite good lap time in the end. So I think so far, I think we had a great job in the team. I think the race is going to be a different story, because I think we mentioned that our car is much heavier than last year, so we are really struggling with the degradation of the tires, and that will be the key for the 6 hour.
There's still so much learning then that's happening. You're going into the unknown slightly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, I think the car, as much as different like this, it's every session, every lap, it seems to be learning. And the feeling for me is like, it's like student, you know, you jump in this car, you know what you have to do with the truck, but obviously the car looks same, but when you're in the car, it's doing completely different job. So, you know, I think I'm always happy to be in the car, and when you are in the car, you're always learning. Of course, I think that our job to be not mistake, but I think still, you know, we drove this car a few days. It's not much days, so, you know, try to be here stronger as a team. And obviously, I think all the team did a great job. And, you know, I think we were very difficult at the start with a lot of trouble. But hopefully in the race, we have a good reliability as well.
Great job, Kamiri. Thank you.
Thank you.
Graham Goodwin, a real seat-of-the-pants lap.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't know what to expect from the car. You've just heard him say, we haven't done a low-fuel run.
No.
So he's venturing into the unknown, and boy, he held that. And holding on to that as well, Philippe Albuquerque, what a lap in LMP2. Again, you know, these guys come here on a real high, but not just in the battle against their teammates in number 8, who obviously are their, you know, their key rivals because they know what they've got, but against all the LMP2 cars and the Alpine. Neil Jani said it earlier in the press conference yesterday about GT. He said, you can't afford a mistake in the whole season. 6 races, 3 of them are more than standard points. If you go behind here, then the rest of your season is going to be all but impossible. And Toyota have to be flawless.
100% correct, Martin. And what we've seen from that was a stellar lap from Kamui Kobayashi. But if anything, an even more stellar lap with Philippe Albuquerque, the number 22 car, coming back as defending champions. And we're going to be going down to speak to Philippe in the pit lane in just a few moments. I think that was one of the laps of the week so far. Let's go down to pit lane.
Yeah.
If only we could be as quick setting up an interview as you are in the car. That was so good to watch. So close.
Yeah. Well, it was really nice. Well, actually, it's still half a second on the second. So really, really happy about this lap. Obviously, I think United, I think we are doing a really good job. The whole team. We started from the prologue on the first day, already very confident. All of us 3 in the car. This is just the example that we are in a good level. But I mean, okay, this is just for our ego because, you know, in the 6 hours means nothing. But it's been feel good because we've been P1 in all the sessions and now we needed to seal it in the qualifying. And I enjoyed a lot to be driving and such a nice track and cold. And the car just gets the best performance out of it. So super happy about it. So I need to as well to congratulate to my engineer Gary and my teammates Phil and Fabio because they are behind as well on this work on preparing the car and tuning the setup because I'm not just driving alone.
Okay, well, let's look how much you enjoyed it with the highlights. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, again, big smile on the face of engineer Gary Robertshaw, as much as on the face of Philippe Albuquerque, Fabio Scherer and Phil Hansen. Spa-Francorchamps, the first race of the 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship, starting with a new format in qualifying. No longer 2 drivers per car, but 1 driver, 1 man or woman against the mountain and against the clock. Starting with GTs with super low track temperatures. The first victim in Eau Rouge-Rédillon was Christian Ried, a big high-speed accident bringing out the red flags. Immediately on the outlap of resumption, Egidio Perfetti for Team Project One, carbon copy accident and another red flag. Once the session got underway, 3rd fastest time going to the 88 Dempsey Proton Porsche. In 2nd position, Paul Dalla in the 98 Aston Martin, but the first pole of the new season for the TF Sport Aston Martin of Ben Keating. In the GTE Pro class, Porsche's 91, Richard Lietz, looked like he had the chance for pole, but ended up in 3rd, pipped by the 52 Ferrari. The lap set by Miguel Molina, but the superhero of GT with not 1 but 2 laps that were a second quicker than anybody else could manage. Kevin Escher, the pole man in the 91 car. The prototype class for LMP2 and the brand new hypercar category, the new top tier of endurance sports car racing. In 3rd place in LMP2, Geert van der Garde for Racing Team Netherlands, showing that they've lost none of their pace from last year. Nick de Vries blitzed 2nd for G-Drive, but Philippe Albuquerque not only put the former Grand Prix driver back in his box, but found more time in his final lap, reveling in the conditions here. In hypercar, 4th overall in the class, in the qualifying, but 3rd in the class, Nicolas Pierre for Alpine, but it was Toyota Gazoo Racing's 010 that locked out the front row. 2nd fastest, Kazuki Nakajima, 2 minutes 1.26, but the first ever hypercar pole going to number 7, courtesy of Kamui Kobayashi with a brand new record. So a highly entertaining, very quick, closely fought, and for a couple of teams, pretty damaging qualifying session. A number of the GT cars had laps deleted, and a number of laps deleted, in fact, Graham, because they were struggling in the cold temperatures to get enough tyre temp to keep them on track. But it is a mouth-watering prospect again for 6 hours of this around Spa, with the GTs and the prototypes so close together.
And if this is the first of 6 like that, I won't be complaining without the damaging accidents. Fantastic stuff in all 4 classes.
Well, join us tomorrow for the 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you then.